Hey there, and welcome back to Learn English Hub, your place for fun, practical English practice. Today, we're doing a listening and shadowing session that will really get your ears and mouth working in English. You'll hear 5 stories, each at a different level, from A1 beginner all the way up to C1 advanced. By the end of this video, you'll be able to improve your listening skills, hear grammar and vocabulary in real context, practice speaking naturally with shadowing, and build confidence and rhythm in English. Each story gets a bit more challenging, so you'll follow the language step by step. From simple sentences to more fluent, natural expression. You can just listen or you can read at the same time as me. You can shadow every sentence or just listen and enjoy the story. Whatever works best for you. Alright, let's dive in and start with A1. Our first story is A1 beginner level. Short sentences. This is perfect for warming up your ears and building confidence. Let's start simple and easy. You've got this. A1 story, ordering lunch at a cafe. Chapter 1, lunchtime. It is 12 o'clock in the afternoon and Tom is sitting at his desk at work. His stomach is making small, hungry sounds. He smiles a little because he knows what that means. It is time for lunch. Tom likes lunchtime. Lunchtime is his favorite break of the day. He usually eats a sandwich at his desk, but today he wants something different. Today he wants to go outside. He wants fresh air. He wants coffee, and he wants a nice meal. Tom stands up, takes his jacket, and walks to the door. His office is on the 5th floor. He takes the elevator down to the ground floor. When the doors open, he walks outside. The sun is bright and it feels warm on his face. Tom takes a deep breath. He looks around. There are many restaurants on the street, but Tom has a favorite cafe. The cafe is small, but it is nice. The food is simple, but it tastes good. Tom starts walking in the direction of the cafe. He is excited. He is thinking about his lunch. He is thinking about a sandwich, or maybe a salad, or maybe pasta. He is also thinking about coffee. He loves coffee. Coffee makes him feel awake and ready for the rest of the day. Chapter 2, inside the cafe. When Tom arrives at the cafe, he opens the door and steps inside. The cafe is not big, but it is warm and friendly. There are 10 small tables inside, and most of them are full. People are talking, eating, and drinking coffee. The smell of fresh bread and hot coffee fills the air. Tom likes this smell very much. It makes him feel happy. Tom looks around and sees an empty table near the window. He walks to the table and sits down. He takes a menu from the table and starts to read it. The menu has many options. There are sandwiches, salads, soups, pasta dishes, desserts, and many kinds of drinks. Tom reads slowly because he wants to choose the perfect lunch. While he is reading, a waiter walks to his table. The waiter is young and friendly. He is smiling. He holds a small notepad and a pen in his hand. "Hello, good afternoon," the waiter says. "Are you ready to order?" Tom smiles and says, "Hello." "Not yet. I'm still reading the menu. I want to choose something good." The waiter laughs a little. No problem, he says. Take your time. I can come back in a minute. Tom nods, and the waiter walks to another table. Tom continues reading the menu. He sees a chicken sandwich, a tuna salad, a vegetable soup, and many other things. He wants everything. It is difficult to decide. Finally, Tom decides that he wants a chicken sandwich and a small cup of coffee. He closes the menu. He feels good. He made his choice. Chapter 3, Ordering and Eating. The waiter comes back to Tom's table. Are you ready now? He asks. Tom smiles and says, Yes, I am ready. I would like a chicken sandwich, please, and a small coffee. The waiter writes Tom's order on his notepad. Then he asks, Do you want your coffee now or with your food? Tom thinks for a moment. Then he says, I want my coffee with my food. Thank you. The waiter nods and walks to the kitchen. Tom looks out the window. He sees people walking on the street outside. People are going to work, going to the supermarket, or meeting friends. Tom likes watching people. It is interesting. After 10 minutes, the waiter comes back with Tom's food. He puts the plate on the table. The sandwich looks delicious. The bread is warm, the chicken is fresh, and there are tomatoes and lettuce inside. The coffee is hot and smells wonderful. Tom is happy. He takes a bite of the sandwich. It tastes amazing. He takes a sip of his coffee. It is perfect. Tom eats slowly. He wants to enjoy every bite. While he is eating, Tom checks his phone. He reads a short news article. He replies to a message from his friend. He looks at the time. It is already 12:30. Tom smiles because he still has time. He doesn't need to hurry. He eats the rest of his sandwich and drinks all his coffee. His stomach is full and he feels relaxed. Chapter 4, Finishing Lunch and Leaving. When Tom finishes his meal, he stands up and walks to the counter to pay. The cashier smiles at him. Did you enjoy your lunch? She asks. Tom smiles back and says, Yes, it was very good. Thank you. The cashier tells him the price. Tom pays with his credit card. The machine makes a small beep sound and Tom takes his card back. Thank you and have a nice day. The cashier says, You too, Tom replies. Tom walks to the door, opens it, and steps outside. The sun is still shining. The air feels warm and comfortable. Tom takes a deep breath. He feels happy. He feels ready to go back to work. He starts walking back to his office. He is thinking about his afternoon tasks. He is thinking about his next meeting. He is thinking about his job. But inside, he is also thinking about his lunch. It was simple, but it was nice. Sometimes small things make the day better. And today, lunch at the cafe makes Tom's day better. Tom walks into his office building. He takes the elevator back up to the 5th floor. He opens the door to his office and sits at his desk again. He looks at his computer screen. He smiles. He feels energized. He starts working again. Today is a good day. And he is excited for tomorrow. Because maybe tomorrow he will also come back to the cafe. Now we're at the A2 level. The language gets a little richer. There are more verbs in the past and there are slightly more descriptive words. Take it slow, shadow if you feel comfortable, and enjoy the flow of the story. So this story is called The Social Media Detox. Chapter 1. Too much screen time. Sarah is 23 years old. She studies marketing at university. She also works part-time in a clothing store, so her days are usually busy. After classes and after work, she often feels tired. And when she feels tired, she does one thing almost automatically. She picks up her phone. She opens Instagram. She checks TikTok. She looks at YouTube videos. Sometimes she watches funny videos of cats. Sometimes she watches makeup tutorials. Sometimes she scrolls for so long that she forgets how much time passes. She doesn't plan to spend hours on her phone, but it happens very easily. She sits on her bed. She starts watching one video, then another one, then another one. And suddenly it is midnight. Last week, for example, she had an important exam the next morning. She told herself, I will only watch videos for 10 minutes. But then 10 minutes became 1 hour. And after 1 hour, she said, okay, only 5 more minutes. And those 5 minutes became 2 more hours. When she finally looked at the time, it was 2:15 in the morning. She felt angry with herself because she knew she needed sleep for the exam. She promised she would stop scrolling and go to sleep immediately. But before she closed her phone, she said, maybe I can just check one more TikTok. She laughed at something funny and she scrolled again. At 3 in the morning, she finally put her phone down. The next day, she felt terrible and tired. She was angry with her decision. She thought, why is this so difficult for me? Chapter 2, Time for a Change. The next morning, Sarah woke up late and missed her breakfast. She ran quickly to her bus and she felt stressed. During the exam, her head hurt and her eyes felt heavy. She tried to focus, but her brain did not want to work. She kept thinking about how little sleep she had. After the exam, she sat outside the university building and opened her phone again. She saw many notifications, messages, likes, comments, new videos recommended for her. She looked at the screen and thought, why am I doing this to myself? This doesn't help me. This makes me feel worse. In that moment, she finally understood that she needed to make a change. She needed to control her phone, not let her phone control her. She opened the settings on her phone, took a deep breath, and uninstalled 3 apps: Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. When she pressed the delete button, she felt nervous. These apps were part of her everyday routine. They were like habits. She watched videos during breakfast, during the bus ride, during lunch break, and before she slept. Without these apps, her day looked empty, in her mind. She wasn't sure what she would do instead, but she also felt a small sense of power. She thought, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can change. She decided to do a 1-week social media detox. She wrote a note on paper and put it on her wall. The note said, 7 days, no scrolling. She told herself she would try. She didn't need to be perfect. She just needed to try something different. Chapter 3, a new routine. The first day of the detox was the hardest. Sarah woke up in the morning and the first thing she wanted to do was check Instagram. Her finger touched the place on her phone screen where the Instagram app used to be. But the app was not there anymore. She felt strange and a little lost. She didn't know what to do. So she put her phone down and decided to do something else. She made tea. She looked out the window. She listened to the birds outside. She realized she never listened to the birds before in the morning because she always looked at her phone. During the bus ride, she usually watched TikTok videos, but now she looked around at real people instead. She saw an old man reading a newspaper. She saw a little girl holding her mother's hand. She saw 2 students laughing together. She noticed things she'd never noticed before. At lunch break, she didn't scroll. She talked to her friend Maya instead. They laughed and Maya told her a story about her dog. Sarah felt lighter, calmer, more present. In the evening, she read a book she bought months ago but never opened. After a few pages, she smiled. The book was interesting. She thought, maybe I should do this more often. Each day became easier. She started to sleep earlier because she didn't spend hours watching videos. Her mind felt more relaxed. She felt like she had more time. She cooked new recipes, she cleaned her room, she studied more effectively. She had more conversations with real people, not just with a screen. Chapter 4, a new balance. After 7 days, Sarah installed the apps again, but she felt different this time. She didn't want to scroll for hours. She didn't need it. She realized that she likes social media, but she doesn't want social media to control her life. Now she uses her phone with more intention. She sets limits. She checks Instagram only for a few minutes, not for hours. She watches 2 or 3 TikTok videos, not 50. She closes the apps when she feels bored, not when her phone battery is empty. One evening, after the detox, she sat on her bed again, but instead of opening TikTok, she opened her book instead. She read a chapter, she made tea, and she enjoyed the quiet moment. Then she checked a few videos on her phone, but she stopped after 5 minutes. She smiled because she knew she changed something inside her. She felt more confident, more peaceful, and more balanced. She told her friend Maya about her experience. Maya said, maybe I should try that too. Sarah smiled and said, you don't need to delete everything forever. You just need to remember that your time is important. You deserve to use it well. From that week forward, Sarah lived her days with more intention, more focus, and more real life, not just digital life. Okay, so next up, the B1 intermediate level. This will have more natural conversation, storytelling, more details and emotional expression, and a wider range of grammar structures. Shadowing here will really help you sound more fluent and natural. So, let's go. So, the story is called Working with AI. Chapter 1, A New Tool Arrives. Lucas started his job in customer support 2 years ago. At first, it was a simple job. He answered emails, typed standard replies, and checked order numbers. Every day was almost the same. He sat at his desk, opened his computer, and replied to customers from all over the world. Some customers were angry. Some customers were confused. Some customers were very kind. Lucas learned that helping people is not always easy, but it can be satisfying. However, 3 months ago, something changed. One morning, the manager called everyone into the meeting room. The employees sat around a long table, and the manager said, "We are going to start using an AI assistant in customer support. This tool will help you answer emails faster." When Lucas heard the words AI assistant, he became a little nervous. He had read articles online about artificial intelligence. Many articles said that AI would replace workers in offices. Many videos said that computers would take human jobs. Lucas felt worried. He looked at his colleagues and he could see fear in their faces as well. The manager continued speaking. He explained that the AI was not there to replace them. He said that the AI was only going to help with writing drafts, translating messages, and summarizing long emails. The manager said AI will make your work easier and more efficient. But at that moment, Lucas did not believe him. He thought that this was the beginning of something bigger. Maybe the beginning of fewer jobs for people. That afternoon, Lucas went home with many questions in his mind. Chapter 2, First Days of Using AI. During the first week with the AI assistant, Lucas felt confused. Every time he wanted to write an email, the AI showed suggestions. Sometimes the suggestions were useful, but sometimes they felt strange or robotic. Lucas tried to use the suggestions, but he needed to edit the sentences a lot. He thought, this AI is not better than me. It does not understand the situation like a real human. But every day, Lucas noticed small improvements. The AI became faster. The AI became more accurate. It suggested better sentences. It learned from the emails the team wrote. After 2 weeks, Lucas realized that he was writing more messages per day. He did not spend as much time thinking about standard phrases. The AI helped him finish the simple emails quickly. One afternoon, he looked at the number of emails he had answered. It was almost double the number he usually completed. He felt surprised. He said to himself, maybe this is not a bad thing. Maybe this tool is helping me. Soon, the company started receiving feedback from customers. Many customers wrote positive comments. They said the replies were faster, clearer, and easier to understand. Lucas felt proud, even though he knew the AI had helped him. He thought, the AI is like a partner. It's not perfect, but it supports me. Chapter 3, Changing Feelings. After 1 month, Lucas started to feel differently about AI. Before the AI arrived, he believed that technology would steal jobs. But now, he understood that AI can also create new opportunities. He had more time to think carefully about complicated cases. He had more time to answer customers who needed special attention. He also had more time to learn new skills. For example, he started to learn how to analyze customer data and how to improve communication strategies. He found articles online about how AI works and how companies use AI in other departments. He became curious. One day, he asked his manager if he could join a training program about AI and customer experience. The manager agreed, and Lucas attended weekly classes online. He learned how AI systems are trained, how they improve through feedback, and how humans can work together with machines. Lucas realized that if the world is changing and if people want to stay ready for the future, they need to learn new things. Cannot ignore technology. Lucas also noticed that his colleagues changed their opinions too. Many of them said they enjoyed their work more now. The job felt less repetitive. Before AI, they wrote the same sentences many times a day. Now, the AI did the boring part. They were still important because they made final decisions. Humans needed to read the messages, understand feelings, and choose the best answer. AI helped, but it didn't replace empathy. Chapter 4, Looking to the Future. Now, after 3 months, Lucas feels confident about the future. He still respects technology, but he is not afraid anymore. He believes that AI will continue to grow and become more advanced. He knows that some jobs may change and new jobs will appear. He also knows that humans will always have an important role because humans can connect emotionally with customers, and AI cannot do that in the same way. Lucas has already started to think about his long-term career. He wants to learn more about digital tools because he believes that workers who understand both people and technology will be very valuable. He thinks that in the future, he might become a specialist in customer experience and AI systems. Maybe one day he will lead a team. Maybe one day he will teach new employees how to work with AI. When he talks to his friends, he tells them that AI is not something they should fear. Instead, he says they should try to understand it and use it wisely. He has seen the benefits with his own eyes. His job is easier now, and his stress is lower. He feels more productive, and he has more energy for the tasks that need real thinking. In many ways, the AI assistant has improved his daily routine. Lucas has changed his mindset. Today, he is not only a support agent, he is part of a new generation of workers who collaborate with technology. And he believes that with curiosity, learning, and an open mind, the future can be exciting, not frightening. Now we're into the B2 upper intermediate level. There are more complex sentences. We have a mixture of verb tenses and abstract ideas and deeper storytelling. This is where you push your speaking and listening to the next level. Ready? The story is called Electric Cars and the Road to Change. Chapter 1, A City in Transition. Over the last 5 years, Emma has watched her city change in many ways. When she moved here to start her job as a financial analyst, the streets were filled with traditional gasoline cars, and it was normal to see traffic jams with engines idling and exhaust fumes filling the air. However, recently, the city council has introduced stricter environmental policies. They are trying to reduce carbon emissions because they want to protect the environment and improve air quality for residents. One of their biggest goals is to encourage people to drive electric cars. If citizens choose electric vehicles instead of gasoline cars, the city will produce less pollution, the streets will smell cleaner, and residents will breathe fresher air. At least that is the theory. The city has installed new charging stations, offered subsidies for electric vehicles, and organized public campaigns explaining the benefits of cleaner transportation. Emma thinks that this initiative might work in the long term, but she knows that change is never simple. Human habits do not transform overnight, and people often resist new technology when it seems expensive or inconvenient. Even though Emma is interested in environmental issues, she still uses her old gasoline car. She has considered switching to an electric one, but she hasn't made a final decision yet. Buying a new car would be a big investment, and she is still not sure whether the benefits are worth the cost, or whether the infrastructure is strong enough to support everyday use. Chapter 2: Conversations and Doubts. Last week, Emma met some friends for coffee. They sat outside a small cafe in the city centre and they could see electric cars passing by almost every minute. Charging stations were right next to the cafe, so they watched drivers plug in their cars while they talked. Her friend Julia immediately said, "Look how many electric cars we see now. A few years ago, we barely saw any, and now they are everywhere." But Emma wasn't convinced. She said, "Yes, they are more common, but they are still expensive. And the batteries require rare minerals from other countries. Mining these materials also harms the environment. So, are electric cars really the best answer, or are we just choosing a different problem?" Her other friend Adam joined the conversation. He said that if governments invest more money in research, batteries will become cleaner and more efficient in the future. He also believed that if more people buy electric cars, companies will compete to lower prices. Emma understood his argument, but she still had doubts. She explained that many people in smaller towns still do not have access to charging stations. She said if someone lives in a rural area, an electric car might create stress instead of relief. If they cannot charge their car quickly, they might feel trapped. Her friends listened carefully. They agreed that no solution is perfect. However, they also agreed that if nothing changes, the climate crisis will continue to get worse. At that moment, they all realized that sometimes we must accept small imperfections if we want to change the future. Chapter 3: Research and Reflection. Later that night, Emma decided to do more research. She read articles online, watched documentaries, and checked different websites that compared electric cars to gasoline cars. She learned that electric vehicles use less energy in the long term, and they are cheaper to maintain because they do not need oil changes. She read that if a person drives an electric car for many years, they will save money, but only if the charging infrastructure continues to improve. Emma also discovered that some companies are already developing new types of batteries that use fewer rare minerals. If these new batteries become popular, electric cars will become more sustainable than they are today. She realized that technology doesn't stay the same forever. What seems limited today might become brilliant tomorrow. The world is always evolving. Emma also reflected on her personal habits. She asked herself, if I wait for something to be perfect, will I ever make a change? And if everyone waits for perfection, will anything change at all? She understood that progress requires collective action. She thought about her own values. She always believed in protecting the planet, so maybe investing in an electric car would be consistent with her beliefs, even if it is not the perfect solution. Chapter 4: Moving Forward. One evening, Emma went for a walk and passed by a car dealership. There was a new electric model displayed in the glass window. The car looked modern and elegant. Emma stood in front of the window for a few minutes, imagining herself driving it. She imagined charging it at night while she slept. She imagined driving through the city with less noise and no gasoline smell. She imagined participating in the transition instead of waiting for other people to make the first move. At that moment, Emma understood that the future will not arrive all at once. The future will arrive little by little, one decision at a time. If people want cleaner air and a healthier planet, they need to accept some inconvenience in the beginning. The world cannot remain the same if we want to avoid climate disaster. The question, she realized, is not whether electric cars are perfect, but whether they are better than what we have now. Emma still hasn't bought an electric car. Not yet. But she has decided that her next car will definitely be electric. She knows that if she invests in cleaner technology, she will show support for a future that needs innovation. She believes that once more people make similar choices, governments will invest in more charging stations, companies will design better batteries, and prices will eventually become more affordable. Emma now feels hopeful. She knows that if citizens, governments, and companies work together, the future will become cleaner. Maybe not immediately, but gradually. And step by step, the city will transform into a better place to live. And finally, we have the C1 advanced level. These sentences will be longer, flexible, we will use more metaphors, reflections, and abstract ideas. The English will be used in a way that a native speaker thinks and talks. Shadowing this level is challenging but amazing for fluency. So let's dive in. The topic is digital nomads, identity, and the meaning of freedom. The title is called The Algorithm of a Life. Chapter 1, The Departure. He had always believed that freedom was a destination, a point on a map, until the day he packed his laptop, sold his furniture online in under 48 hours, and booked a one-way ticket to Lisbon. There was no crisis, no existential collapse, no romantic breakup, no debt collectors, nothing melodramatic. Just a subtle but persistent thought that had been expanding for months. What exactly is stopping me? His company, a software firm in Berlin, had officially become remote first after the pandemic, which meant his flat was no longer a necessary part of the equation. He wanted to see whether life could be lived without anchors. On his last evening in Berlin, he watched his empty apartment echo with the sound of his own voice. He thought about how strange it was that a space can feel profoundly meaningful when it's full of objects, and yet become instantly meaningless when it's empty. It felt like evidence that we project significance onto places that do not inherently possess it. In his farewell email to his colleagues, he deliberately avoided cliches like new chapter or follow your dreams. He didn't want to mythologize what was essentially just an experiment. Instead, he wrote, I want to see what happens if I remove everything that usually defines me. He was 32, and for the first time he felt unowned, even by himself. Chapter 2, Lisbon and the Mirror of Other Nomads. Lisbon was warm, bright, loud in the right ways, quiet in the right corners. At the co-working space, he met countless people who believed that their mobility made them extraordinary, as if the simple act of working in front of a different type of architecture automatically granted superior wisdom. He quickly noticed that many digital nomads weren't actually free. They were just traveling versions of the same anxious person. The same deadlines, the same Slack notifications, the same self-branding, the same fragile self-worth tied to productivity. What was different? The background color in their Instagram stories. He identified 3 types among them. Number 1, achievement addicts. Always talking about optimizing sleep, optimizing focus, optimizing macros, optimizing dopamine. They weren't living, they were managing themselves. Number 2, escape artists. Running away from parents they disliked, cities that exhausted them, relationships that suffocated them, or careers that felt absurd. Number 3, the identity collectors. Obsessed with labeling themselves, UI designer, performance coach, Web3 strategist, artificial intelligence evangelist. He wondered which category he belonged to. He suspected he was a mixture of all 3, which made him uncomfortable, because he had hoped that leaving Berlin would transform him into a more authentic human being by default. But he began to realize something fundamental. Changing your location does not automatically change who you are. It merely changes what you are tempted to blame. Chapter 3, The Inner Glitch. 2 months into his nomadic experiment, he sat in a small cafe with blue tiles and an old ceiling fan that creaked whenever it rotated. He had been meaning to revise a machine learning model for work, But instead of coding, he found himself sketching an uncomfortable hypothesis in his notebook. Perhaps the real algorithm we need to optimize is not the one on the laptop, but the one inside the mind. He wrote alternative versions of himself on the page. The version he performed at work. The version his parents thought he was. The version that existed only inside his imagination. The version he posted online. He realized he was not a single self. He was a system of selves, constantly switching depending on context, like a machine learning model shifting models depending on input data. He asked himself, if I don't know which version of me is the authentic one, does an authentic version even exist? It was an uncomfortable question because it didn't offer the possibility of a comforting answer. He had never needed to confront this before because the city, the office, the routines, all of those structures had implicitly told him who he was. But once those structures were gone, identity became a blank page, which at first feels like a privilege until you realize that blankness can also be terrifying. Freedom and disorientation, it turned out, were two sides of the same coin. Chapter 4, The Return That Isn't a Return. In late autumn, he returned to Berlin, but only for a week to visit friends. He deliberately booked a hotel instead of staying with anyone he knew, because he wanted to observe the city like an outsider. And indeed, it no longer felt like the city he had left. But more importantly, he no longer felt like the one who had left it. When he walked through the old neighborhood, he felt a strange mixture of nostalgia and alienation, as if time had split into two parallel threads and he was occupying both simultaneously. His friends asked, "So, was it worth it? Did you discover who you really are? Are you happier now?" He couldn't answer any of those questions with certainty. He didn't discover a final identity. He didn't find some enlightened version of himself. He didn't become a radically new person. What he discovered instead was something far less dramatic, yet far more honest. The point is to not discover who you are, but to stop assuming there is only one valid version of you. He realized that freedom is not the absence of structure, but the ability to choose your structure intentionally. As he packed again to fly to Buenos Aires, this time not as an escape and not as a fantasy. He finally understood. He wasn't looking for a place. He was building a dynamic definition of self, one that could stretch, contract, evolve, collapse, regenerate, and contradict itself without requiring permission. Freedom was not the destination. It was the capacity to rewrite the internal algorithm whenever necessary. Not because there is a perfect version of you waiting to be discovered, but because there are infinite versions and none of them are final. Okay, great job. Thanks for listening. You did amazing. Remember, shadowing is not about perfection. It's about rhythm, confidence, and flow. Every time you repeat a story, you'll notice new details and patterns. You can also focus on just one level, maybe B2 or C1, to challenge yourself. If you want more listening, grammar, storytelling, or shadowing practice, check out the rest of my channel. And here's the key: improving your English isn't about speed, it's about consistency. So if you enjoyed this video, give us a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.